get that on Zoom. It's been far too long. George contacted me 3 years ago, I think it was now, with this idea of having a bar show over here. And it's like, yes, that sounds great, great region, great people, great drinks, let's do it. And obviously, shit hit the fan, but we are here now. So this, to open up, let's hear a huge round of applause for the opening show of the Mediterranean Bar Show 2022! Kenji, it's a real pleasure to be here. It's an honor to stand in here, and thank you guys for inviting me to be the host for the speaker stands. And to be honest, I couldn't think of a better speaker to open up the show than Danil Nevsky. I've introduced him in a few different countries around the world, and I keep watching him because, you know, he's very watchable.
He's essential design.
Honestly, he is social media now. If you're only going to follow one account, follow the Indie Bartender, because his mind goes places that I'm only there when I'm stoned. He's the most creative bartender. Is he? I don't even. Are you a bartender? Bar thing out there.
In China.
Yeah. Okay, I'll get myself out of the hole. I was only given 40 seconds to fluff anyway. So, as I said, it's been an honor to open up the Mediterranean Bar Show. Can I hear? Actually, can you be upstanding? Be upstanding. Come on. Be upstanding. Let's hear it for Danil Nevsky!
Thank you. You are, as always, the permanent fluffer for every bar show ever. I feel like there's no one who comes even close. I feel like now I have to reciprocate the compliments, right? So this is Kenji, global consultant, winner of everything, the man who has the world record for the most cocktails shaken at the same time, no?
Yes.
Like 10,000 people?
Yeah, not me, personally, I wasn't shaking them all, but yes.
He got 1,000 people shaking a drink at the same time.
1,700.
Wow.
So, you're also pretty good. All right, thank you very much for coming. Thank you, Mediterranean Bar Show, for inviting me. Thank you, Babis over there, for making sure I'm always the first seminar every single time. And thank you for everyone who was local, who was possibly working last night until very late, and decided to come and sit in a very sweaty room with me to listen to what I have to say. First and foremost, I sometimes speak very fast when I'm nervous, and this is my first time presenting in Cyprus, so I'm going to be very nervous because I have a very special connection with this country, because my godfather is Cypriot. So I get very nervous around the family-related area. Nevertheless, thank you for coming to the seminar. The seminar is called The Theory of Creativity, because I like fancy titles. Everyone else does fancy titles. It sounds cool, it sounds smart, and it's the opposite of the way I dress. Now, is everybody here in the bar industry, more or less? Can we, bartenders, bar managers, but can we get like a little, more or less, brand ambassadors, bar owners, possibly? And then we have civilians. Perfect. We need you. You're going to be my test to see if this seminar goes beyond the bar industry, and we will need you because you're going to laugh a lot. So you're my test for my future stand-up career. Anyway, how many times have you heard, whether you're civilians or whether you are bartenders, the word creativity, right? Everyone says, be creative, as if like you have a fucking button and you go, boom, oh, I'm so creative right now. Oh, perfect. That's how it works, right? How many times do you look at other different menus, you go to different bar shows, you go to different seminars, and the idea is to get inspired. And inspired is just another word for copy, essentially. And so, one of the things I want to talk about is because whether you're making cocktails, opening bars, doing trainings, being a brand ambassador, anything we do, there has to be some form of creativity involved, right? And essentially, many times when we're inspired by, we take two different concepts, sometimes we mash them together, we do something new. It's not new, but someone turns around and says, whoa, you're creative, and you're like, they didn't notice that, I'm totally stealing that from someone else. So what I want to talk about today is different techniques or different methodologies when it comes to cocktails and drinks, and about how you could possibly use these techniques to be more creative, right? It's very important to understand that creativity comes from doing something. You cannot sit on your ass and just hope that the next Diageo World Class finalist idea that's going to make you a champion is just going to come, right? You're just going to go, cool, all right, that's the winning drink. I'm out, I'm doing. So there's always a method to the madness. So the first question I want to start with is, what are cocktails, right? Well, what is a cocktail? You can shout out, you can raise your hand if you have an opinion. We need you to talk because you are normal, so for you cocktails could be something completely different. But what are drinks? What are cocktails in this essence? Does anybody want to say something? There's no wrong answers, by the way. You could even, mixed drinks? Perfect, they are. We mix them. Mixed drinks, cool. What are cocktails? Relaxation. See, that's why we have civilians in bar shows. Relaxation. Cocktails are relaxation. And see, it's interesting the difference between someone working in the industry, where mixed drinks is what you're doing, whilst for someone who's enjoying on the other side, it is relaxation. It's just having a good time. For me, I think the interesting thing about cocktails, and I don't know if you can see, is that cocktails generally lie between two things, between magic and science. And funnily enough, right now, where would you say cocktails are on this line? This is magic, Catholic Church, whatever you want to do. And this is science, which is basically chemistry in school. Where do cocktails lie on this right now, in the current state around the world? Where are they on this line? Anybody have more to the right, more to the left, in the middle? Never mind. I think cocktails lie exactly in the middle. The reason is that you can look at the pandemic. You can mix a drink in your house. You can get all the ingredients, you can do it, you can buy the required equipment, and you can sit in your underwear on your couch at home, mix the drink, with martini, Manhattan. Cool. You could get the specs for the world's greatest martini from the Koinch and make exactly the same drink at home. But it won't be the same as having it in a bar. Possibly with your friends, possibly in a specific company. That sort of magic is that sort of element, right? Right now, go back. Premature, just like my sex life. See, I have some prepared little bangers. Self-deprecating humor is always good. So I believe that cocktails lie somewhere in the middle, because there is some magical element between the two. Right now, I think we are very much going towards the scientific part, right? Right now, all of these different techniques, rotovapes, centrifuges, all this kind of stuff has become front and center. Clarifying, declarifying, rotary evaporators. And the thing with that's cool, that's wonderful. The most important thing is to forget that is just a requirement to make more magic. And magic is that element of you as a person, when you speak to people, the moments that you have that have nothing to do with the drink. But both of those have to be in sync. So, to kind of break it down, I have here a table. And I want you to help me. When was the first time you had a drink? How old were you? 14? In Cyprus, get some wine, and your parents give you some wine for Easter, your grandmother. 10, 12, 14? 12. Well, I see now why Cypriots like to have fun. So, probably wine and beer is the first thing you have, right? And then how old are you when you have your first highball? Like a gin tonic, your Cuba Libre? Now, never. 16, right? 16, great. In Eastern Europe, it's vodka, 9 yen. 9 years old. Shots, your first B-52, your first slippery nipple, Jesus Christ, I can't think of the shots. Cowboys, you're a bit old, maybe you're going to your college or something, 19, 20, first shots. Your mojito, your first mojito, relaxation, you're on the beach, maybe a mojito, maybe a strawberry daiquiri, in a blender, obviously. Is that the next step? What is the timeline of how we drink? Is that possibly, let's just say that this is education, alcohol education, right? So we're at mojito, we're at Negronis, your first Negroni, the world's most unbalanced cocktail, the Negroni, everybody thinks it's amazing, fucking sweet and bitter, shite. Negroni, great, right? That's the next drink. Then people are getting into bitters, the Amaros, everyone's making their own infusions, wormwood. This is now. Then of course everyone gets a rotovap or a Jerry Thomas tattoo, right? That's the natural, gets a moustache like this, spends a couple of years wearing those arm guards and suspenders for your shirts that cost 50 euros for some reason. So this is, see, they're laughing because they get it. This is their life. This is their life. But this is where you come in, because here we have the bartenders, and here you are as the guests. So bartenders, would you agree that we are here? We're up here. We know our shit, you know, more or less. Now, where are the guests? Where on this table of knowledge are the civilians? Would you say they're at highballs and shots? Or are they above that? Negroni. So Cypriots are at Negroni. So if I ask you what a Negroni is, you have no idea. Hello, mojito? We know mojito. Right. Perfect. So I was right. So guests are at mojito, right? This is where they are. So our job, in a way, as bartenders, is to bridge that gap between possibly Negronis, just on the Negronis, but mojitos, shots, highballs, because we know we're here, but sometimes we forget that they are not on the same level as us, and we are telling them about the distillation of cognac in 1782, where phylloxera didn't wipe out blubbity, blubbity, blub, blub. And this lady is like, I just want to relax, dude, fuck off. I didn't come to a library, I came to a bar. Give me a mojito and shut the fuck up. But the key is we will never bridge this gap with science. We will never, if people come to bars, they're never going to be that interested because of a rotary evaporator or who the hell is Jerry Thomas, but we will bridge it with magic. We'll bridge it with our personality. We'll bridge it with our atmosphere. Bridge it with the way we speak. If we give them a nice drink that is similar to what they like, and then they'll ask questions, then they'll listen. If you give them a drink and then you give them a novel, they will not care. So if we know that cocktails are now in science, how the hell do we hack magic? Because science is easy, everything can be tested. The amount of sugar, the amount of sourness, the amount of spiciness, everything now, there's equipment to test how much volume, how much density, and we know everything. We have all the books, Liquid Intelligence, Flavor Thesaurus, but never mind, we have ways to test this stuff. But how the hell do we hack the magic? How the hell do we bring that? And this is where we get to theories of creativity. We get to ways that we can try and find a way to bridge that gap between ourselves and our guests to be better. Because what's interesting is that every bar owner that you'll ever meet here in Cyprus, who is no longer a bartender, who is no longer just making drinks, they're now creating concepts. They stop worrying about the drinks and focus more on the atmosphere and the magic of it, and much less on the rotovats and all the specs of your bitters. So first, theory of creativity. This is all in Russian because I obviously didn't translate it because I'm a moron. There's one person that can read it. There's one person. So this is my theory, this is how I think, right? So what is a drink? A drink has different elements to it. And my theory is called the Rubik's Cube Theory because the Rubik's Cube has 6 different sides, right? Actually, this is very good that you guys see it because you don't know what the fuck it says. Perfect. So let's talk about the 6 different elements of a cocktail. Can you name one? What is important in when you're making a drink? You can shout. Ingredients, cool. Ingredients, I have them on there, you don't know. Ingredients, so ingredients is 1. Where's 5 more? Flavor, I have it on there. No, because flavor is part of the ingredients give the flavor. Does that make sense? Again, this is just my theory, right? So bear in mind. Anything else? Glassware is there, cool, we have glassware. Presentation, perfect. We have sort of garnish, the way something ends up looking, which is sort of part of glassware in a way, but it's the glassware and the garnish, I separate those two because I think they're different. So garnish, presentation, ingredients, anything else? Copyright. Well, the menu is important when you're making a drink. That's where you put the drink, right? That's afterwards. But just making the drink, what else do you think about when you're making a cocktail? You might, huh? Balance, perfect, but balance comes from the ingredients and your methodology. I'll just skip, right? So I think A, the name. The name is massively important when you're making a drink. When there's classic drinks that you'll sort of know when we become drinkers, mojito, you learn about it, but the name is the number one thing that a person reads, and then they try and make an association with it. So if the name sounds like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and then you get a highball that's crystal clear with like a dehydrated lime in it, you're like, what the fuck is this? I was expecting Jackie Chan to jump out of my glass and boot me in the face. And this is a rotovac highball with nothing else. So the name. Then we have, of course, the story. Because the story ends up happening afterwards. Like you must have been inspired by something. You must have talk to the mojito has a story, the strawberry daiquiri has a story, everything has a story. You craft that story when you're making the drink. That is the stuff that people are going to remember. And lastly, it's the ritual. If I give you 10 shot glasses here that are crystal clear, you don't know what's inside it, but I give you a salt and a lime, you think it's tequila. Because that is the ritual that you expect. It could be civarilla, but you will think it's tequila because the ritual of the way it's presented, you know. If I give you a pink glass and use a little bit of orange zest and flame it, you think it's a Coca-Cola. You know what I mean? If anything with mint and crushed ice is a mojito. People don't give a shit. Mint and crushed ice mojito. I'm not trying to say that this is the right way. I'm trying to explain to you to recognize this cultural and drinking element of what the guests know and use it to your advantage. Because imagine if this Rubik's Cube, this is the perfect drink. Our ritual, our name, our story, our glass, our ingredients, and the garnish, everything is perfect. What happens next? What is it? Is it feng shui or what is this now? Okay, so this is the perfect drink. We have everything is perfect. What is the next sort of element? Nobody knows? Because now, this is, if I do this and I put this on top, that is now a coaster. If I put the Super Cube on my head, that is now a hat. If I throw it and break it, it is a lethal weapon. The purpose. The element is the purpose. You've made the perfect drink, but what is its purpose? What is it trying to achieve? Because you can have a million perfect drinks that are stirred. It's just a memory. I didn't get you first. You can have a million perfect drinks, but unless you know the purpose of that drink and what it's trying to achieve, it makes absolutely zero point. Apple Spritz, we're having one over there. Its purpose is that al fresco relaxation, refreshment, right? And Manhattan is usually in a dark, warmer place. See where I'm going? I'm going beyond just the drink. I'm going beyond just the creation of the drink. If you give me a Sazerac right now in this room, I'll tell you to fuck off. Because it's way too hot to have a very strong, full-body cocktail. You give me a pina colada, and we are friends for the rest of your life. Just your life, because I can drink more. So this is what I'm getting at. Drinks are not just a sum of their ingredients, garnishes, and what they are. They have to serve a purpose. So when you create a menu, when you go and do an event, when you go to a guest shift, you have to analyze way beyond what you want to do. You have to think, okay, where am I going? What is the culture? What is the temperature? What is the weather? What is the situation in which I have to bartend? All of these different elements that go way beyond just creating that one drink. Name, rule, ritual, babat, story, garnish, ingredients. What? So what am I talking about? What is the purpose? And the funny thing is that these purposes is what separates a good bar from an amazing bar. It separates a good bar from a top 50 bar. It separates a good bartender from a world-class bartender. Now, that's great. We got the idea first. We got the Rubix Cube Theory, throw shit on the ground, hurt somebody, make a stupid joke. Got it? Got it. Perfect. The next question is, and this is where you'll be very interesting for me as well. I'm so glad it came. It was great. Have you ever been to a bar and you have no fucking idea what is on the menu? You read a drink and then you're just like, what is this? I can't imagine how it looks. I have no idea what I'm going to get. And then you end up staring at it for 10 seconds. You go, you know what? I'll have a whiskey soda or a rum cola, something that you know, because Jesus Christ, I can't do this. Right? This has happened. Now, there is actually a proved hackable way to understand most drinks around the world. It's been codified a long time ago. It's called the 7 deadly sins, the 7 families of drinks. Every single bar out there has their own versions, but this is one of the first codifications. This happened in like 2004, 2005 with someone called Gary Regan. I think he did it first, and then Dale DeGraw, blah, blah, blah. People that are irrelevant to your life. Don't worry about it. And so they codified 7 different families of drinks, and they can break them down. And once you understand that code, those 7 different codes, you can go to any bar around the world, read the ingredients, and go, okay, I know what kind of glass that's probably going to come in, and what kind of drink it is. What a great, this should be taught in schools. The first one is the punch. The punch has spirit, citrus, sweetener, water, which can be tea, fruit juice, and spices. This is your zombie, this is your sangria, your fish house punch, your Mai Tai, these are all punches. You know what a Mai Tai is, you've heard of a zombie possibly, you've heard of it, you know what a sangria is. These are all technically punches. By the way, I can send you this presentation after you just, so you don't have to write down. The second is the milk punch. Everybody's new favorite bullshit cocktail bar, milk punch. Spirit, sweetness, spice, and dairy. Right, in Icelandic, grasshopper, white Russian, all drinks you might have heard of. This is the milk punch. Now, when you know what goes in it, when you read it on the menu, it makes it easier. Yeah, I know it sounds gross. Don't worry about it. But now you can also clarify. Everybody has to clarify milk punch, balance it out a little bit. There's a seminar going on the other side, which is just solo milk punch with old Pandan. Next, we have the cocktail. Oh, Jesus Christ. Next, we have the cocktail. Spirit, sweetener, water, bitters, and fortified wines optional. This is your Manhattan, your old fashioned, this is your martini. The cocktail originally was this, not what we know it now. Now it's changed into an overall term. The original cocktail from Jesus Christ 1800s. It's like World War II, but a couple of grandmas before that. Sazerac, this is the cocktail. Next we have the goblet, fortified wine, seasonal fruit, citrus. You know, you don't come across this as much anymore. Whiskey called the sherry cobbler, but a lot of long drinks end up being this. Next we have the sour, daiquiri, margarita, sidetrack, bullets, and last word. Spirit, sweetness, citrus, bitters, egg white optional. And last we have the Collins, spirit, sweetness, citrus soda. Tom Collins, the Kentucky lemonade, mojito. So once you know these 7 families, suddenly you can go into any cocktail bar in the world, and life is great. Right? Life is amazing. This is why does he sound like a cartoon character? Shut the fuck up, Kenji! Then we have finally the highball, which is your gin tonic, your Cuba Libre, your Moscow Mule, your Happy Bullbagger. This just sounds like a porn star name. Earth and citrus. But where next? So now you know what the 7 families are. Now you know the Rubik's Cube Theory. Now you can basically make the world's best drinks. You know exactly what you're doing with them. You know all the 7 families. You can go to any bar around the world and go boom, boom, that's a cocktail. That's a cocktail. What happens next? Well, now we get into the science of it, right? What happens after this? After we know the 7 families. We have things like weight, texture, astringency, salt, sugar, chemothesis, acid, piquancy. This is all next elements. We're now going beyond just the basic drinks. We're going into the more things that no one ever thinks about, right? We're talking about flavor, we're talking about balance, right? Somebody said it out loud. Have you ever thought about how heavy your drink is? Have you ever, why can't you have more than 1 pina colada? Rejected. Why have nobody thought about the fact that you can't have more than 1 pina colada? Because once you have 2, you're a fat bastard and you want to go to sleep. Why? Because of the drink, because of the weight of the drink, right? Well, why is it you can have 1 million Americanos, 1 million daiquiris, and still feel fine? Because of the weight of the drink. It's easier to consume. All of these is next level stuff that no one ever thinks about. When we talk about balance, we're always like, oh, sweet sour, or, that's it. Right? Is it balanced with the sugar? Is it balanced with the weight? With the astringency, with the piquancy, with the texture? Chemothesis. Do you even know what chemothesis is? Fuck, I didn't know. I had to Google it. Yeah, it's too loud. Chemothesis is the flavor of heat on your tongue when you have ginger. It's not hot, but it makes you feel warm. Cinnamon has the same effect. Chemothesis is the feeling of cooling on your tongue with mint and cucumber, even though it's not cool, it's just the flavor. So what happens after that? Now we know basic drinks, now we know the 7 families, now we know the Rubik's Cube, now we know chemothesis, because we use Google. The next thing we know, we're going beyond that. We're looking into what is piquancy, how do we get it? Now we got chili, black pepper, horseradish. Now we're looking into astringency, red wine, tea, cranberries. We're getting deep. We're going into the molecular formula. We're like Ant-Man in cocktails. Marvel, the Avengers, references. Where do we go beyond that? Where next? We go to theories of creativity. The first theory that I want to share with you today, number 1, is the Remy Savage method. He's allowed me to reproduce this, so you can't sue me for this one. The Remy Savage method is one of my favorite methods. You don't know who he is, but he's bold and he's beautiful. Jason Statham drinks. Remy Savage method. He likes triangles. He's got a key playing around with it. He has a very, very, very wonderful method of explaining explaining of how everything that he's ever done and how he's gotten there. And none of those things are based on the phrase of think outside the box. Have you ever heard the phrase think outside the box? Has anybody ever said that to you? No? You ever heard of it? Is it possible to think outside the box? Because if this is you, this is your box, this is everything that you fucking know, how are you going to know something beyond what you know? It's impossible, right? How are you, hey guys, let's think outside the box here. It's impossible, this is me, this is the sum of all my knowledge. How am I going to think outside this? And René's idea? Make your box bigger. Make your box bigger. And how do you make your box bigger? You end up learning and doing things that are not part of what you already know. If you know how to make drinks and you know cocktails, why are you reading cocktail books to learn new cocktails? You know it. You've already got to that level. You need to go beyond the industry that you are in to think outside that box. This is why every single time you see Rémi's doing a seminar, he's like, I've studied architecture. I've gone into philosophy. Now I'm doing art. He's completely not interested in what everyone else is doing in the industry because he already knows it. In 2-3 years, you can read every single book out there. You can master every single technique, you can do it. This is that next magic element. Beyond the theories of creativity, beyond who you are. Number 2, second theory of creativity. The prestige method. This is stolen from a film called The Prestige. Act 1, the pledge. Act 2, the turn. Act 3, the prestige. Number 1. The prestige is, if those of you have seen the film with Hugh Jackman and some other guy, Christian Bale, I think it is, it talks about magic. And since that's what we're talking about, we're going to use that as a metaphor. In magic, he says that a very good magician has 3 elements. The pledge, the turn, the prestige. Number 1, the pledge. The magician shows you something normal, but it's actually completely, it's obviously fake, it's abnormal. This is an example of a pledge drink. The Oaxaca Old Fashioned, created in my well in New York City by Tim Ward, if I'm not mistaken. It's an old fashioned. Everybody knows what an old fashioned is. You probably don't need to. But everybody knows what an old fashioned is. He serves it like an old fashioned, just changed the zest, but it's tequila, mezcal, agave, mole. Now those things now are normal for us. In 2005 when he created this, mezcal comes with a worm and some other horrible stuff nobody knew about. This is the pledge. The turn. Make an ordinary idea into something the guests can recognize yet surprise. This is autumn 2012. This is by Naren Young. This was the, I think the drink is actually called Autumn 2012. Applejack, sherry, Paul William and the maple syrup, apple cinnamon bitters. Now, if you look at the photo, it was served on a leaf, and then the leaf was burnt. For those of us who live in more colder countries, in the autumn they sometimes gather the leaves and they burn them. The smell of burning leaves becomes the smell of autumn. And living in New York City, they would do that in some areas. So the drink is very seasonal. The drink is something to do with the time of the year. And when you get it and they burn the leaf, you get the smell of the burning leaf. Boom, it's the turn. This is no longer just a drink, it's an experience. This drink is now an emotional connection. And every single culture, every single part of the world has something that is super colloquialisms and dialects, something that is completely to do with our culture. Even studying Cypriot slang, there's things that they say in Cyprus that the Greeks have no fucking idea what's going on. So this is that magic moment. This is beyond. How can you make drinks that are not just aimed at pleasing people around the world? How can you make them local? How can you change the mindset of local? How can you connect? And only Cypriots will understand this, because people that live here will have that cultural connection. Lastly, the prestige. I took this photo while very drunk, so that's why it's blurry. This is the only photo I could find of this. This is a competition from El Dorado Rum from 2011 or 12. It was a Bloody Mary competition. I don't know why a rum company is doing a Bloody Mary competition. It sounds pretty gross to me, but here we are. The man who was serving this drink, at the beginning of his presentation, picked up a tree, put it down, and started talking about his cocktail. Cocktail competitions are like bad choreography. He talked about his drink, he was talking about the ingredients, talking about everything, and then he ran out of time, and the judge is like, hey, make the drink, make the drink. He's like, the drink was already there all along, and he pushes the tree towards the judges. he had inserted his drink into the tomatoes that were hanging from the tree the entire time. The drink was already there the entire presentation. They had to rip the tomato off the tree and eat it, and they had the drink and they had the cocktail through eating into the cherry tomato. This is the prestige. The cocktail was always there. Nobody was ready for it. Nobody knew it was there. But in that last moment, that magical moment, that became the trick. This is the 1, 2, 3 Koinch term prestige theory of creativity. How can you surprise your guests beyond the wildest imaginations universe? And what's interesting about the idea of the pledge, the term, the prestige, is that it changes with time. Has anybody heard of the drink called the gin basil smash? 1 or 2? Well, yeah, obviously. The gin basil smash, gin, lemon juice, fresh basil, sugar syrup. Muddle, super green, shape, whatever. 2006, if I'm not mistaken, it was first originally came to print, before Instagram, before Facebook, before all this stuff, by a guy called Jörg Meyer in Hamburg, in a bar called Lyon. In 2006, he had a blog, he put it online, suddenly everyone in Germany was making gin basil smash. Very refreshing cocktail. Now, that drink is not cool anymore, it's a standard drink everybody knows. It's good, it's a good drink, but it's not gonna get your nipples hard, right? You're not gonna get excited for it. Like a semi, maybe. Right? But back then in 2006, it was the prestige. It was like, holy shit, nobody's put basil in cocktails before. Oh my God, this is revolutionary. This blows everybody out of the mind. So this is another element that you need to understand, that as time changes, things are no longer exciting for us as bartenders. We know the drink, we've seen it, it's no longer great. However, I just said gin basil smash, and our civilians had no idea what the hell it was. So for them, making them a gin basil smash is prestige. For us, it's boring. So why not focus on them, and in that magical moment, to give them these prestigious moments? We don't have to invent the next gin basil smash, but we can introduce it to them, and we will be the greatest bartender in the world for doing so. Does that make sense? It's a slightly different way of looking at it. All right, there you go. Yeah, prestige, verb, timeline, great. I did this all on my iPad, but that's it. Number 3, the third theory of creativity, the language method. Blah, 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 blah. Does anybody have any clue what the fuck this means? These are drinks from menus, and I have absolutely no idea what is going on. Now, we did learn the 7 different families, so we can figure out maybe what's inside. Sforzando. Anybody know what sforzando is? Anyone? What? Big? Apparently sforzando is for music, and it's something to do with like a musical note. But how the hell are you meant to, you are all professionals, you know what sforzando is. The fuck is that? The artist. What is that? Black heart. What has that got to do with any of the ingredients? What is going on? What is the language that we are using? Is that making you excited? Can you read? Drawing pandalos. Verjus. You probably say verjus, right? You know what that is. Pear, apple cider, shrub. Does that sound delicious to you? You don't want a shrub? How dare you? Unbelievable. See what I mean? The language method. What is the language that we're using to talk? What are we using? Here's an example of a menu in London from the cocktail trading company. Those 2 before were also off-menu drinks that I've taken a photo of. There was no illustration. This is an example of what I like between magic and science. We have the drink. We have not even the ml, not even the specs, just some parts. And then we have the description. Now, of course, this can change from country to country depending on what language they speak there. And I highly, highly recommend that if you have a bar in Cyprus, that your menu is in Greek. But look at the way they describe it. Use strawberries and season, adding layers of body to create a sensation of creaminess without cow. Funny. Combine with cognac and top generously with champagne, pouring into a cake mold and crowning with cornstarch frosting. That sounds a lot sexier than Hennessy cognac, Moet Chandon, strawberries and cream. Cornstarch frosting, that's sexy. Again, that's interesting. Generously with champagne. They might have 10 milliliters champagne, but generously sounds nice. So I want a generous amount of champagne. You read that right, which sadly is vegan, but we can do it without if you desire. Vegan joke. Perfect, everybody knows a vegan joke. It's the best thing to joke about. Nelson's blood. Long citrusy, rummy as fuck. Because it is, got shitloads of rum in it. See what I mean? Just using basic language, basic descriptors, you are more interested in trying this drink than if you read Sforzando through in Verjus shrub. And there's an illustration of how the drink looks. Now the key is to break it down. This is the pictures of the drinks. So this drink on the left is the drink in the main, how it looks, and this is how it actually gets served. So does the description match the photo? Of course, this is very kitschy. It's not for everyone. Not every bar has to be like this. But it's fun. But it's magical. But this can all be broken down. The magic, the science, the magic, the science. Science, magic, science. Because you can see here, the science we can figure out. We have the parts, which gives us nerds understanding of what is in the drink. We have the magic and rumminess spot. We have the science because we know what the ingredients are. But the science plus the magic, that steampunk area, is here. Combine all the ingredients in a barrel, turn like the waves of a gathering storm, garnish with some generic TV stuff and a bit of whale skin. Just kidding, make it with a white chocolate body bar or something. That's actually an inside joke against the Margarita nightjar, but rated for using whale skin as a cocktail flavor. Number 4. So see what I mean? You can use different methods, different creative methods to connect with your guests, to make your bars better, to make your drinks more interesting, to make you more memorable. And last but not least, ideesthesia. Alright, it's gonna be interesting. Ideesthesia. And we're gonna make you into scientists. I actually don't have anything. Do you have a pen and paper? I didn't think about this part. Anybody have a pen and paper? Somebody had a notepad. Can I borrow like a pen? What was it? Ideesthesia is how we're gonna hack your brain right now. I got you, but run, he's very slow. You're the best. This is like a slow. Perfect. Ideesthesia is the way we're going to hack your brain and we're going to make you approach making drinks in a completely different way. Over here you see, this is an old thing, it's not mine, I didn't invent it. Here we see 2 images, right? I'm going to write down their names and you're going to guess what they are. Right, good. None of you guys are plants, you're definitely not plants. But we have 2 images here. Both of them have names. One is Kiki and one is Booba. Now I want you to look at those images and I want you to think in your head which one you think is Kiki and which one you think is Booba. You got it? Everybody had a moment? You made a decision? You don't have to raise your hand, but who thought that this was Kiki? Most of you. And who thought that this was Booba? Well, this is the only other choice. If you thought that was Kiki, the other one was Booba. This is a vocal way of thinking because our eyes see Kiki, the sound is sharp, so we associate Kiki to sharpness. We hear Booba, it's a more round sound. I don't know why I wrote that, to be honest. It's Kiki Booba. But we associate Booba with a round sound, and the image that we are seeing is rounder in shape. As a result, our brains trick ourselves into, that's definitely Booba, that is definitely Kiki. Right? So, you guys are all genius, you don't know this test, and you've done it, and you all got it right. 96% of people get this right. Kiki Booba. Yeah, okay, I had it on the screen. Practice your presentations, people. Now, let's go beyond. Those are some ingredients on the screen. Which ones are Kiki? Which ones are Booba? Is lime Kiki? Raise your hand. Right, most of you. Is chili Kiki? Is pear Kiki? Exactly. Every person can associate the sound with the shape, with the flavor. So when you're creating drinks, why not forget the ML, forget what they are. Is this product Kiki or Booba? If you have nachos and it only has guacamole and, if you have nachos and on their own, they're Kiki. With guacamole, that's the Booba. You have a winning combination. You have the round, tasty moment, you have the crispiness and the crunchiness. Eating guacamole with a spoon is something you do when you're depressed or drunk or high, but it's not exactly the most, it's not a meal. No one orders, oh, can I have nachos? Well, I have guacamole, but hold the nachos. I'll just have the guacamole, just give me a massive spoon. I know that there's someone who's gonna go, well, I do that all the time. Sure, you're a freak, you do your shit. But most people need that Kiki and that Booba to balance. In a daiquiri, if we could say that lime is Kiki, the sugar syrup tones it down, that's the Booba. In a grasshopper. This is why I think Negroni sucks balls, because it's just all good. So this is what I mean. So start approaching ingredients not just as what you think they are, the flavor that you think they are. How can you completely go the other way? In a band, we don't need 50 lead singers. We don't need 50 kikis. We need the bass, which is a booba. It makes the whole thing go round. It's a completely different way of approaching drinks, completely different way of approaching cocktails, veins, everything. You can't have too many kikis, you can't have too many boobas. You need balance. Number 5, balance is bullshit. I hate the word balance. Balance can fuck off. Anyone who comes to another person's bar and goes, this is unbalanced, fuck you, fuck off. I don't give a shit. There's a test for this. Right, I need a volunteer. I need 3 volunteers actually. We're going to prove that balance is bullshit. Can we get a civilian? Can we get you? Is that okay? Or if you don't want, can we borrow your wonderful other half? Can we get Caitlin? Yeah. And we had, fuck it. You come over? So here, I have 3, I have 3.5. Here, I have 3 glasses. This is a mixture of lemon juice and sugar, right? And sticky hands. I want you just to try it. And then I have here lemon juice and I have sugar syrup. And you balance it if you need to add more sugar or more lemon. Up to you. Yeah, I want you to mix it up. If you would add more lemon or sugar, this is lemon. Yeah.
What if you like it the way it is?
Then you don't do anything. Cool?
I'm happy.
Better? Cool, you good? Cool. Right, so obviously you guys changed something. Let's use this very dirty caffeinated straw to mix it around. Everyone's getting purpose now. Now, can you swap your mixture with this lady? Can you swap your mixture with this man? And vice versa. Now when you try the same thing, just try it. Obviously it's not balanced because you already made these decisions. You don't like that. It's not about, oh, your face is like the back of my elbow. See what I mean? You can put it down and take a sip. So would you agree that the other person is unbalanced? That's the whole point, yeah. So I have 2 bartenders, well I'm a brand advocacy director of an ex-bartender and a very famous female bartender from the world, Canada and the UK. I have this gentleman here whose name I don't know. And I have a civilian. So all of you just picked up 1-to-1 sugar syrup to lemon juice. I lied to you that I don't know what it is, it's 1-to-1. And somebody decided to leave it as it is, somebody wanted something more sour, somebody decided to add a whole lemon to it. And none of you could agree on the balance. So how the fuck are we talking about balance every day when we can't even agree a basic balance of lemon juice and sugar syrup between 3 people in this crowd? Right? Balance is bullshit. Absolute bullshit. See what I mean? It's completely subjective. Right? And obviously this is warm, in a warm room. So imagine what happens when you add ice. Imagine what happens when you add crushed ice. Imagine what happens when we're in a colder, normal room with normal temperature that's not too sweaty. Right? Completely different perception of it. The sugar tends to go down because the colder it is, the less sort of sweet things become. That's why we don't eat hot ice cream. See what I mean? I'm not trying to teach you or tell you how to do your life. I'm just trying to point out several things in the bar world that interest me, that possibly spark an idea in you. The point of this seminar is not for you to come back and then conquer world class, is to look at things in a slightly different way, to approach your drinks, your venues, your bars in a slightly different way that hopefully will inspire you to think, dare I say, outside the box, but increase your box so that those new ideas will come and you will completely create something new and interesting. And this is basically the idea of that saying balance is bullshit. And this comes down to expectations versus reality. No, and we have all these bars around the world that are super famous. We go there, our expectations are up here, and we end up having a bad experience. That's the worst place it can be. The expectations are high, but reality sucks. Or we go to dive bars, which our expectations are super low, but we end up having a great time. That's amazing. The key is to be a unicorn where the expectations match the reality. That is the hardest thing to do. That is the hardest thing to do every day. That is the hardest thing to do as a bartender, as a bar owner, as a brand ambassador. When the expectations set upon you, which you don't even decide, have to be met every single day. And this is where also it's important to look at your guests, at the civilians, because the expectations that they set sometimes go way beyond because of what you might read or might see than what you expected. The key of expectations versus the reality is the value of time. The expected value versus the delivered value versus the perceived value. If you keep the perceived value low and then you absolutely slay every day, that's good. But if you start walking around with a fucking fist up your ass telling everybody you're going to change the way they're going to drink, you're going to change the industry, you're very likely to fail because there's always somebody faster, always somebody better, always somebody more clear. So yeah, as a closing statement, I have talked a lot, you've sweat a lot, you've laughed at some terrible jokes. There's no final eureka moment of everybody claps in the seminar, but we've spoken about 4 different rules of creativity. We've spoken about the basics of cocktails. We've had a litmus test placebo of people to show us the difference of how we approach things. And I hope at least some of the things that I've shared with you today have possibly made you smile, possibly made you think, and hopefully maybe 6 or 7, 8, 9, 10 months from now, you can send me a message saying, hey, that was really cool, here's some really cool creation I did thanks to that. My name is Danil Nevsky, this has been the Theories of Creativity. Thank you for coming and sweating with me. My Instagram, sign up for that, I chat shit. That's my website. I have a lot of different guides beyond this that are more in depth for bartenders that you can download absolutely free. Just join the website. And finally, anybody drinking tonight, I am behind the bar at 11:30 to 1 a.m. in Los Angeles, so you guys are going to be nice and drunk, making cocktails. Come along if you have time. Thank you. Get out and get some cold drinks. Cheers, guys.